So, Julian Assange, as some of you guys know, he's a hero of mine. Basically the reason why I do what I do was because of him. Obviously him being an exposer, WikiLeaks, stuff like that. We sort of modelled this off that ideology, that nonpartisan view, and basically we will go through and basically expose people for the frauds they are, sort of like what he does. Obviously, as some of you know, he was taking refuge in the Ecuadorian embassy. Ecuador then kicked him out shortly after receiving a $4.2 billion IMF loan, which apparently had nothing to do with their decision whatsoever. But anyway, and then he's been arrested by the UK. He's been held in the UK at the moment because he skipped bail, because these Swedish charges, which to me I think is completely debunked, but anyway. And basically they claim that because he skipped bail, or because he didn't turn up to the court hearing, because he was fearful of his life, because of obviously at the end of the day that he was going to extradite it back to America, he went and sought refugee status at the Ecuadorian embassy and to try and get to Ecuador. And obviously didn't turn up to his court hearing because, well, let's face it, it probably would have been faster to send him back to the US. Now, he's been in Ecuador. He's been in the Ecuadorian embassy for, I think it was like 7 or 8 years or something. It was in there for quite a while. And in this time, he's had no doctors, no dentists or anything like that. All he's had is just him, his cat, and sometimes the internet, depending on whether they want to keep it on. The UN has ruled that his detainment was inhumane, as Centaur was saying in chat. His treatment's inhumane. Yeah, that's it. And at the end of the day, the UN has actually ruled, the Human Rights Council has ruled that. Sweden is dropped the case, then it's sort of re-picking it up again. I think that's more posturing than anything that's worth. But the thing is that reportedly that Assange is gravely ill and anyone is hardly talking about it, but don't worry, we will. Caitlin Johnson finds this jarring revelation reported by only a few outlets and often in an offhand manner. So Julian Assange's Swedish lawyer, Per Samuels, has told the press that Assange's health situation on Friday was such that it was not possible to conduct a normal conversation with him.
Oh, yeah.
This jarring revelation has been reported by a small handful of outlets, but only as an aside in relation to Sweden refusing Samuel's request for postponement of scheduled hearing, which we'll get to in a sec, regarding Assange's detention and Ebenezer for Parliament investigation of rape allegations. The fact that the imprisoned WikiLeaks founder is so ill and that he can't converse lucidly in itself is far more significant than the postmodernism, I might be mispronouncing that, refusal. Yet headlines mention Samuel's statement focused on the Swedish case, de-emphasizing the startling news from his lawyer. As of writing this, I'm able to find very few outlets reporting on this at all. Most of the mainstream being Reuters articles with the very tame headline, Swedish court rejects delay of Assange's hearing over ill health lawyer. The Sydney Morning Herald also covered the story without the mention of the illness, insists its headline goes with Swedish court rejects effort to delay Assange's hearing. But the much smaller alternative media outlet World Socialist website has been the only outlet I've found so far reporting on Salman's statement in anything resembling its proper scale, publishing a good article on May 29th titled, Despite Assange's ill health, Swedish court rejects delay to court hearing. The Human Rights Council, I think it was, actually ruled that his treatment in the Ecuadorian embassy and his detention in that was actually unhumane. So, yeah. Sounds like you were drinking for a sec. I was. Good ears. I got a drink next to me. But don't worry, it's not alcoholic. News lag. This news has been so undisclosed that and underappreciated for its writing that I don't find about it until hours after the story broke. I'm very plagued in both the alternative media commentary and WikiLeaks related news. I report that Julian Assange was so sick that he could barely speak all the way back on Friday, and we still have no news about it, and how he's doing should now be hugely significant for everyone who cares about Assange. Press freedoms, government transparency, our peace or activism. Another part of the story that's gone completely uncovered in all English language media is that the writing of news that Assange has been transferred to the hospital wing of Belmarsh prison, which is basically the UK's version of Guantanamo Bay. This was reported by Swedish outlet Upsida Nyheterna, I might be mispronouncing, a newspaper published in the same district court as which Assange is scheduled for call in his hearing. The report was also based on a statement to the press by Per Samuelsson. The article reports the following, per machine translation. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange's lawyer wants the arrest hearing on Monday in Uppsala to be postponed. According to the lawyer, who has now visited his client in British prison, Assange is admitted to the medical department and was unable to make a call. Last Friday, Assange's Swedish defense lawyer, Per Samuelsson, visited the client in prison, and in a letter to Uppsala District Court, the lawyer said that they met just for under 2 hours. According to the lawyer, Assange's state of health at the meeting was such that a normal conversation with him was not possible. Julian Assange is said to have been taken to the prison ward, but there is no more detailed information about his state of health. This story was picked up from the Upsala Nyheterna, I'm getting that wrong, by Danish news agency Richards and published in the outlet Polkanen with the title, per machine translating, weakened Assange hospitalised in London prison and possible to have normal conversation with him. These outlets are trying to understand. So these outlets are, to my understanding, as reputable as any other mainstream Western outlet, yet they remain the only publications I've been able to find which are reporting that Assange has been hospitalised. This is absolutely bizarre. I've emailed Per Samuels with a request to confirm the news that Assange has been hospitalised. I'll update this article if I hear back. For Assange supporters, one of the many frustrating things about his imprisonment that has been the way that he's been cut off from the usual means by which people learn about his well-being. It used to be that the news reports could easily confirm or refute by people who had constant access to Assange in some way by sources like WikiLeaks' Twitter account. But people who operate that account don't have readily accessed him anymore. So, the rumour mill. We're now seeing all sorts of rumours circulate about how Assange is firing in prison. It gets difficult to sort out the fact from fiction. It appears to be difficult to find more reliable source on the statement of his health than his own lawyer, however. It has been long established that the fact that Assange was in failing health while trapped in the Ecuadorian embassy in London. Doctors who visited him published an article with The Guardian in January 2018 titled, "We examined Julian Assange and he badly needs care, but he can't get it." Anita Vaquer, an activist and author who has worked with and written about WikiLeaks, tweeted in response to the news revelation, he needed urgent assistance after his expulsion from the embassy. Instead, he was not allowed to receive adequate medical treatment. In the case of Helsworth, Swedish embassy, it took at least a month for treatment to go back to normal. Imagine 7 years. Brutal. So we've been watching the slow motion assassination of Julian Assange and have been choking him to death by typical psyops, sieging tactics and willful neglect, as surely as if it placed a noose around his neck, not just in Belmarsh prison but in the embassy as well. The only difference between the execution of someone on death row and this is the same difference with covered and outfare makes it sense that the intelligence, judicial and military agencies carrying out his death sentence operate with the same power structure that carries out war. First come the smears, propaganda, then comes the siege, sanctions, and then stage their coup, drag him out of the embassy. And now they've got him in their clutches. They can do what they want behind closed doors. This is how you kill a nation while still looking like a nice guy. That's how you're killing Assange. Shouts this from the rooftops, whether the media blackout is self-imposed or perhaps the result of malicious use of a D-notice. We have to use everything in our power to get this information into the mainstream and get people asking questions of the press and their local members about what the dickens is going on in Belmarsh prison right now. Assange's life may depend on it. So, it does not seem good. Look, like I said, he's been in prison for Ecuadorian in the Ecuadorian embassy for 7 years, I think it was. They said. So at the end of the day, yeah, he was denied medical treatment most of the time. He couldn't even get a dentist or anything like that. So yeah, and look, I do think that they are trying to kill him. That they do want him to rot in jail and die. And you know, if he was to die, oh well, you know, bummer. This is the same sort of thing that the UK did with Tommy Robinson. Is anybody else seeing the parallels here? That people go into these UK prisons and seemingly come out worse than when they went in. It does make you wonder what the hell is going on over in the UK prison. Now, obviously, the Reuters article, Swedish court rejects the delay of Assange's hearing over ill health. Lawyer, a Swedish court has rejected a request to postpone a hearing to rule the detention in absentia of WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange as a part of an ongoing investigation into alleged rape, and defense lawyer of Assange said on Tuesday. Swedish prosecutors heading an investigation into the rape allegations against Assange, which he's denied this month, filed a request for local court for him to be detained with a hearing scheduled for the 3rd of June. Swedish defense lawyer Per Samuelsson told Reuters he had visited Assange in British custody on Friday after what he had sought to hearing postponed. One of the reasons is that Assange's health situation on Friday was that such it was not possible to conduct a normal conversation with him. I meant it should be postponed until I have time to meet with him again and go through the issues in peace and quiet. I suggest no specific date and is meant to be shouted and postponed until everything was ready. But the district court has now decided that it won't happen. So they just basically keep going through and just, trying to push forward. Sweden has reopened the rape investigation into early May. It began in 2010 but dropped in 2017 after Assange took refuge in Ecuador. Assange was arrested in London last month after spending 7 years inside the embassy. If the court order is granted, it would be the first step in a process to have Assange extradited from Britain when he is serving a 50-week sentence for skipping bail. US authorities are seeking a separate to extradite Assange on charges relating to the public release by WikiLeaks of a cache of secret documents that last week revealed 17 new criminal charges against him, including espionage. The British court will have to rule on 2 extradition requests, with the Home Secretary having the final say on which one takes precedence. I am going to guess it's going to be America. Also want to talk about these 17 new charges too. None of these 17 charges are in relation to Assange and the 2016 election. Everybody on the left keeps going, oh, this is him hacking the WikiLeaks, meddling in the election, or this is WikiLeaks hacking into the 2016. No, this has nothing to do with it. These charges that they're going after him for now is all in relation to the 2008 WikiLeaks dump. This is all in regards to him going through and exposing the deep state with their civilian casualties over in Iraq. The helicopter footage with the helicopter pilots who were laughing after gunning people down. The people that, for example, the journalists that they shot. The US shot a bunch of journalists thinking that they were terrorists, and then tried to lie about it. all that sort of stuff. That's what all these charges are actually in regards to. It's got absolutely nothing to do with the 2016 election. And the reason why I know that's for a fact is because it has to do with Chelsea Manning. So, yeah, Chelsea Manning was the leaker who leaked the 2008, I think it was 2008, documents in regards to, for example, the war crimes against the US. By the way, for the argument that people turn around and say that, leaking that information puts soldiers' lives at risk. No, the US was actually asked to prove that in court, and they couldn't. They couldn't prove that anything that he leaked was false. They couldn't prove that they put any soldier's life at risk. And at the end of the day, to me, I would much rather a government being held accountable for war crimes than covering it up. Look, I support the military. I've got family members that are military and everything along the lines, right? I fully support them. But at the end of the day, I don't support a military-industrial complex who is gunning down journalists. I think they're Reuters journalists, actually. Gunning down journalists and then trying to lie about it. So, yeah. It's not the first time the deep state has tried to lie to cover their ass. Benghazi, anybody? You know, they tried to blame some YouTuber for Benghazi for that incident for the first time. And it was like, no, that was all your fault. That was all yours. Yeah. So, yeah. Wouldn't be the first time I tried to set their ass, would it? Look, as for Assange, I hope he gets better. I really do. Hang in there, buddy. And look, hopefully other big YouTubers will be talking about this. I do find it very, very weird that we are one of the very few people that actually talk about this. Everybody likes to bang that drum about freedom of speech and everything along those lines. But God forbid you ask them to go through and to sort of, you know, defend what's right. All of a sudden, this is getting a little close to the sun here. We might, you know, not quite bother about this. Yeah. Yeah. You want to find out who really does support freedom of speech? Go and see how many people are talking about this. How many people have talked about Julian Assange being arrested and him being dragged out of court after, you know, the first article or the first video that they got all the clicks on? How many people are continuing to watch this? Yeah, it's not much, is it? No. But apart from that, guys, I know. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What are your thoughts on Julian Assange? Do you think he is actually gravely ill? Do you think that this is a stalling tactic for him not to go to court? I don't think so, but let me know. Do you think at the end of the day the media isn't covering this because it's malice, or do you think it's just incompetence? Let me know what your thoughts are in that comment section below.